and a -3 indicator. Not doing too well this time around.
Yeah, it's not a good place to be if you're a Gen Air fan, but they still have secured a spot in the finals here in 3rd place.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, SKT, complete domination all year long. They're really settled in 1st place there. CJ, settled in 2nd as well. So all the teams that should have made it kind of made it in the end of all things, I guess, when you look at how it's all ended up.
Yeah. Sad story is Sbenu will still be ineligible. Even if they win this round, they're going to be 1 point behind.
Yeah, kind of ruthless, actually.
It's quite brutal, so we'll see what they want to bring tonight. If they're still going to show us good games, I do not doubt it. We do also have the winners rankings here. We do have another tie between 2 Protoss players, Hero and Zest.
Would love to see a show match between those 2 at the grand finals. How sick would that be? Just to see, who's really the best.
Yeah, that should actually be a thing. That should be like the event. Instead of Kesper Cup, let's just have these guys play like a best of 11 or something.
Yeah, other notable players in this list as well. Dream having one of the best records this season at 10-5, but look at Gumiho, 9-3, pretty impressive.
He had a 9-3 and also a 14-5. I think they may have been classic.
Well, let's have a look at this right now. It's going to be the match today. Flash versus MMA to start things off. Biggest thing to note, Barney Research Station starting it off.
Absolutely, so that's a good reason why we would see 2 Terrans here. Now keep in mind, for those of you guys who are not familiar with the Proleague format of playoffs, it's going to be all-kill format like the GSTL. Winner stays up, loser goes out and is replaced. So for example, if Flash wins, he will stay in the booth and they will send a 2nd Sbenu player to challenge him. The first of 4 will take the match.
Yeah, and taking a look at some team data here, obviously Sbenu has not had much as they are a newly formed team here with a big new name sponsor, whereas KT Rolster, of course, you guys see the huge amount of results they do have. In total, they are 45-19. Very impressive.
Yeah. Look at these ones. These are pretty interesting as well. I'm guessing this is the wins for each player. Obviously, Zest lifting a lot. And then everyone's kind of evened out with Stats, Flash, and Live.
In more ways than one, Moonglade is Zest lifting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you could see basically this is the point differential between wins and losses. So like Zest got 5 points total positive for his team, for example. Look at let's kind of look at some of the changes for some of these players. Like look at Dongre Gu having a great round 4. Curious as well, really pulling his weight, and even Leonok with some very important wins here in round 4.
Yeah, unfortunately, as we mentioned before, not going to be able to use Leonok tonight. We'll see what they do want to use, but getting into our viewpoints here, we have 3. KT versus Sbenu, first time facing each other with the all-kill format.
And will Life come out to face his former teammates? The last time Startail was in the playoffs, they were unable to make it because of a snowstorm.
Oh, yeah, and what was that last one? I
didn't see it.
Sbenu not able to use Leonok tonight.
Oh, well, there you go. That's what we've been talking about here. Makes things so much harder because I don't see a solid 4th player for this team. I mean, Sbenu, they have such great preparation. They've really closed some upsets. Obviously, beating SKT was one of the bigger ones. So I'm sure they're going to be a threat coming into this, but not as big as they could have been.
Yeah, definitely so. And to introduce these 2 players, or starting players, to talk about their TVT a little bit here before we talk about that.
Yeah, guys, we have removed the game clock. If you haven't watched Proleague in a long time and you're tuning in for the playoffs, we did this because of all the illegal, annoying gambling that goes on based on the different times in the game that those guys would bet on, which is very impressive in one sense, but also something we did have to take away. So sorry about that. If there is a very important time in the game, we will try to let you guys know.
Moonglade's on it.
Oh, yeah. I got my Observer PC. I got the timer right here if you guys need to know.
Well, guys, we're going to go straight into a coach interview first with both these 2 teams.
Looks like coach of KT Rolster went Super Saiyan. So we'll be hearing from the KT Rolster coach first. Speaking of which...
나올 수 있습니다. 하지만 이영호 선수를 선봉으로 내세운 이유가 있다면 어떤 부분이 있을까요?
So what was the reason why you sent Flash out as the first player?
연습 시간 때나 혹은 대회 때 보여주는 모습이 굉장히 치고 나가고 있는 그런 상황이라서
As you all know, Flash is doing very well in recent tournaments and in the practice house.
2, 3킬 혹은 올킬까지 바라고 내는
So I just trust that he could actually carry that momentum going forward into today's match.
굉장히 잘하고 있었는데 최근 엔트에 많이 활용이 안 됐어서 사람들이 많이 궁금해하고 있는 입장이거든요.
네.
오늘 전태양 선수 얼굴 볼 수 있을까요?
TY is also doing well in individual leagues. Why aren't you sending him out more often?
나올 수도 있고 안 나올 수도 있고요. 뭐 그리고 기존에는 일단
Depends on the situation. He may or may not come out today.
그거에 집중하라고 했던 의미였고, 그리고
But I wanted him to focus more on the individual league because he advanced far this season.
선수 바로 보실 수 있을 것 같습니다.
But I'm sure that at some point in the postseason we'll see him.
성이랑 KT 마지막 3세트 보시면서 상당히 많이 긴장하셨을 것 같아요. 팀 내 분위기 어땠나요?
Now speaking of Legend, were you nervous watching KT versus Samsung kind of decided their fate? It was like watching a World Cup soccer match inside the team house. We were all sitting together watching the match that would decide our fate.
저희 지금 모르겠어요.
How do you feel about today's match? He says, I don't know. Not too confident here.
쉽게 질 것 같아요.
If we get a win today, he thinks it's going to be a 4-0 easy. But if they lose, they think it's going to be a 4-0 for KT.
So everything hinging on MMA? That's interesting.
I suppose.
That's kind of a scary thing, I think.
Yeah, predicting a one-sided battle.
Did you prepare any special cards for today because you lost Leenock? He says, no, not really. No specific cards for today. But he feels like all the players on the team are ready to play at any time.
네.
좀 준비하기 상당히 좀 수월하셨을 것 같은데 어떠셨나요?
뭐 연습은
How is it to prepare the match against Sbenu?
저희도 좀 선수가 부족한
Since they don't really have a Protoss player,
힘들었고요.
we just didn't practice against Protoss. So it was an easier practice time for us. But our teams are very close, and we actually practice together. So they know their styles, so we're not going to be too overconfident coming into today's match.
Really interesting that Sbenu and KT find themselves as practice partners.
Yeah, it's kind of I would not expect that at all, actually. It's kind of unusual.
Yeah, I'd say KT had one of their weaker rounds, though, in round 4. They did kind of finally make it through there in the end, but it was definitely not an easy road.
Maybe taking some chances here, practicing with some different teams, some more unknown teams, or non-Kesper kind of teams, I guess.
Yeah, quite possibly. You guys were talking about KT kind of struggled during this round. Zest really was the big shining light for that team. He actually went 7-0 in round 4.
Absolutely crazy. Perfect record, and we're definitely going to be seeing him today, no doubt, if things go the wrong way for KT Rolster. But as Legend is predicting, I'm kind of predicting a maybe one-side match. I would actually predict this 4-1 in KT's favor.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's going to be 4-1, 4-2. I mean, KT have such a deep roster. They can bust out so many players that could potentially just all kill this team if Flash can't do it. And Flash probably the least likely to do it as well. He's a little inconsistent and he kind of gets caught out. His style's pretty obvious and counterable, but TVT to start things off on Vani, I think he's going to be unbeatable there.
Yeah, I think this is definitely Flash's map to take. If he lets down this one, I don't know if there's really any base behind what Legend's saying where he's like, oh, if MMA wins one game, he's going to win 4. But I think that may just be hopeful thinking. But you know, that will be at least a bit harder for KT for sure.
Keep in mind, I think the MMA choice is somewhat strategic because if you look at this, you think MMA hasn't played that much recently in Pro League, so it's a lot harder to study his matches. He's not playing in very many individual leagues. He's kind of been off the radar to a certain extent, so going to that first match is a little bit more difficult to prepare for MMA. So I do like that choice, but I do highly favor Flash's TVT style, his solid mech going into this first match.
Well, here we go. Here is Flash. Been showing a lot of TVT recently. In his last Pro League match, I believe he went down to Maru, and he showed a lot of mech there, and I'm pretty sure you're going to see a lot more of it today, which is why he appeared on Vani Research.
500 broadcast wins, 501 wins in televised matches, 228 losses. This guy is a legend, the most popular player in Korea by far.
Yeah, the most popular player in Korea and abroad. We were actually talking to one of our friends from China about how Flash is also one of the most popular players in China as well.
Yeah, and, you know, one of our Chinese friends, again, one of our, I guess, Chinese sources for information about what Chinese people think about Pro League was also telling us MMA is quite famous in China as well, but he has not had a very successful Pro League career. He's 2-4, 2-2 versus Terran, 3-0 versus Flash, but I think that was mostly at the beginning of Flash's transition to Starcraft 2.
Yeah, that was actually a while ago now, so it doesn't count for much. And MMA in recent times has shown some pretty disappointing games against Terran as well. Last time we actually saw that was at IM Gamescom, where he went 0-3 to Innovation, just not having an answer for mech at all.
Yep. We'll have to see, as we haven't seen MMA in a while. Will he be able to come into this match against a legend and actually take a win, or is Flash going to take it down? Let's jump into game number 1 right now on Bonnie Research Station. Up here in the top, in the red, from KT Rolster, our turn player, it is Flash. Whoa.
All right.
Carrying it on into the postseason.
Jeez.
Down here to the bottom, in blue for Sbenu, the underdog, it's MMA. One of Slayer's most successful players in GSTL, but has not found the same success in our new age Kespa Team League in Proleague.
That's right. Yeah, he's been showing some pretty impressive games lately, but certainly not to the caliber of Flash, I'd have to say. But he is a very tricky player, and I'm sure he's been practicing very hard for this one. I'm sure Sbenu wants to go out with a bang, even though they can't make it to that grand playoffs.
It's a lot of money on the line and a lot of pride. And you going into potentially next season as well, just being like, okay, we finished solid last season, take us seriously, going into the 2016 season and Legacy, etc. Definitely a good way to finish things off, I would say.
So coming into this map, I mean, we were talking about how Flash almost definitely going to go into that mech. I mean, he's playing it in these 2 matchups for sure. Also pointing at the sky here, wants to thank whoever he's praying to for how well it's going so far in this game. But do you think MMA goes for something early, some kind of timing push, some kind of early cheese, some aggression at least, or does he just try to play straight up here against Flash?
Starting things off, I mean, you see that early gas from MMA, so it seems like he wants to be the aggressor, which is no surprise here. So we have a look at these interesting...
It's a guy saying he's going to the army soon and comparing his entry date to his friends, it looks like.
Interesting. Looks like Flash is going to be going for just a normal opening here. Racks, standard time refinery, probably going to be a Reaper beyond that.
Yeah, MMA on the other hand has gone for a gas first opening, so obviously his orbital is going to be slightly delayed. That's how you could tell he's gone for this gas first, but he's going to have a faster, aggressive sort of factory. It looks like Flash might have had some issues with the lighting, which is why it was indicating to the sky there.
Yeah, man. Those damn foreign casters keep on putting the giant light on themselves.
Well, ours is not even angled that way anymore. They changed the angle just to stop that, but...
We're the stars. We need this spotlight.
We do.
Especially while we're casting and nobody can see us. That's when it's most important.
Yeah. Well, we're just used to it now. It's actually a thing that I remember a little while ago. I'm like, why is it still on? Why is it still on right now? I'm sweating so much.
I mean, if the legend himself continues to not be happy with it, I'm sure it'll be off sometime soon.
Yeah.
The thing I'm most interested about in this series is, well, in this game, is MMA, is he planning to go for mech himself? Because this is certainly a good map for it, and MMA hasn't really performed very well against mech in the past unless he's playing it himself, so... But do you really want to do that against Flash, or do you want to try and find an easier way to win the game?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, with the faster second gas he's taken here, it looks like he may be planning on dropping off some early aggression with maybe some Cloak Banshees or an early drop. Against Flash has gone into a quick reactor here, in fact, on his barracks after this Reaper opening. But talking about compositions, MMA definitely much more known to bio than to mech in this matchup successfully. The last few times I've seen him try it, he hasn't found that success, kind of like what you're saying. So I'm hoping that if he wants to do that, he at least can find some sort of damage with this gas first.
Well, we are seeing a very quick Banshee from MMA, so he wants to start applying that damage. Flash not too far behind in tech, though. He's finishing up his factory now. Probably looking for that starport.
It's also going to be a Raven here to start things off, so a bit of a more passive build here.
Okay.
Could also point towards MMA himself going towards that mag.
Oh, man. This Reeve's going to see everything there.
Yeah.
Sees no cloak researching, though, so maybe he's under the assumption it is actually a Raven.
Yeah, he also sees no second CC. He did see the SCV go down there. MMA intentionally is showing that SCV going down, but this is going to be real. Like, it's actually, in fact, a CC. But he may be thinking maybe he is going for Banshee opening into a later CC just based on that timing.
Yeah, we do notice that he actually puts down an engineering bay right away. I mean, it could have been the timing for his upgrades that he wants, but it also could just be to get out some turrets just in case.
Safety first. I mean, if you let that go, if you let a Banshee into your base, if you have no sufficient anti-air, you can just lose the game there. You just take too much SCV damage.
And notice MMA is going into a medevac here, so he will be putting on aggression with his gas first anyways. But he's getting out a siege tank, so it looks like he might just go for an early marine drop, a very old school style, and then try to follow this up with maybe a tank push to put some pressure on.
Yeah, this kind of makes sense with MMA's style in general. You know, he loves his marine tanks, and if he wants to go down that way, it makes sense as well because he's so practiced at it. I wouldn't really have faith in him going for a mech versus mech against someone like Flash at this point.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking, you know, because I forget who the Terran was, but they were saying, I think it may have been Innovation. He said that the Raven is so important in this, especially mech versus mech matchup, especially when both these Terrans are trying to get control of skies, and you have that Raven out really early. You can get a couple PDDs down, and you can just overwhelm your opponent in the air. But it does look like he just wants to save that for now.
Flash has already shown us he will be going for mech with that second factory at least. And a second reactor coming down here. This marine drop is just kind of this tempo pressure. He's not going to find much with it.
You could drop on top of Hellions. I'm not sure about that. Scan goes down. Doesn't see too much, actually. He just sees tanks making. Yeah. That's kind of a weird thing to see as well.
He misses the third CC also, but he might be thinking, he might be playing this a little bit nervously, thinking, oh, it's definitely going to be a quick tank push. It's going to be a tank drop.
Okay.
Well, we'll see if he drops it or maybe he just wants to boost it across the map here first. Maybe going for that lip underneath the main.
I think it's going to be dropping on the low ground there, sieging up, using Marines to kind of try and do damage and zone out the army of Flash.
Well, auto turret's definitely going to be quite helpful at this point, and he has much more Raven energy than Flash does, as you were talking about earlier, Valdez. You know, he's going to have several PDDs to use if he wants, or rather, even the auto turrets. Quite useful here.
Well, he's going to try to find a way in here. He's going to be at the front door. Flash being very defensive right now. He's kind of zoning in between the main and natural.
Oh, man, this is such a good position. He's going to control the ramp, and he spotted these double factories earlier with that medevac.
Big hits on those Hellions already. Flash not going to have an answer. He's actually going to have to lift these up.
This is a great position so far here for MMA. No Viking to help follow this up. He might even just kill a factory here. There's no repair.
Oh, it should be okay if he gets an SCV on it. If he's paying attention now, it's burning down.
Oh, there he goes. He does get the repair, but this is doing a ton of damage here for sure. Flash does have only one of his own tanks out here just yet. And getting that production just delayed here for a bit is going to be very annoying.
Yeah, I mean, it shuts down production. It means he's going to have to remake those tech labs as well. It's actually a really smart move from MMA to slow things down and kind of build momentum.
Yeah, he has a third CC, so he's going to have triple mules, triple SCV production, and he's really messed with the production and like the cycles of it as well. He's like, well, do I rebuild my tech lab? So do I move this back? It's a bit of a stressful moment. And we do see Bio obviously is going to be the choice here for MMA. This is kind of what everyone was predicting. Stim nearly done, combat shields coming up as well as +1.
I really like the idea from MMA as well because Flash he's the kind of player that if he gets thrown off, he does have a bad game. So if you're going to make him like screw up his timing, screw up his production like this, it's really going to put him on the back foot more than most players.
Yeah, it definitely is going to. And I'm really interested to see what this push is going to be able to do. Once the stim finishes up, he's going to have, you know, a number of Marauder series making 3 at a time, making his own tanks as well on the back of this. We do, though, see that Flash is, you know, really committing to this air control for now, which is going to help a lot versus the drop, but maybe not so much against a straight-up push.
Yeah, that's the concern I'm having. There was a game, Marine King versus Maru. I remember this specific situation where the meching player was Maru, actually, or rather Marine King, and he tried to land a third base, and he around this time, and the bio push came and wrecked it. It was kind of greedy because he had so many Vikings, but it looks like MMA is going to push out here. Let's see if he can hold on to this base. He's moving his siege tanks and some of those Hellbats now down the ramp. This is the most critical moment in this game right now.
Yeah, this is probably one of the hardest things for mech players to do is try and secure that third base, especially after that kind of pressure early on. He's got kind of sufficient tanks right now, but if we do see MMA start dropping or maybe try to go for the main again, it could really put him out of place. He'd be thankful that he made so many Vikings as well.
Definitely, and they were in the exact right position to drop blocks or block drops earlier.
Dropping blocks all over this map. That's what those Vikings are going to do. Look at this gigantic turret ring. He's even got a Widow Mine in the back door base as well.
He's looking to attack here.
He's going to drop auto turrets.
Oh, well, ambitious move here. So many tanks set up already, though, for Flash.
He's killed quite a few SCVs, so this is a lot of bio, and those Vikings are not helpful here. Flash needs a lot more buffer. The Hellbats go down to tanks, and he's lost control now of his third base, and he may even lose his tank on the high ground. This could actually just be game-ending damage here by MMA.
I think it is. He's into the main base now. He's into the production. There's nothing he can really do at this point.
Yeah, the tanks down here on the bottom of the ramp, and there's just no units. There's 3 Vikings, 3 Marines. It looks like MMA is going to take game number 1. GG.
And you know what? Bio beat mech.
Bio beat mech. I mean, especially in that kind of situation. Really smart planning from MMA there. I'm kind of expecting this from Sbenu in general. You know, they're so intelligent with how they prepare. Maybe they knew Flash put factories there. Say, okay, I'm going to do a timing to make the factories lift, delay everything, and from there go for a timing when he goes to the third base.
That would be incredibly smart if they actually went over those replays, and that was 100% true for Flash's games on Bonnie Research Station. But you said it, you know, right on the news. Sbenu is the team that is going to come in here and prepare for best of ones. So MMA wins the first one, but we'll see who he's up against next and if he's going to be ready for that game.